In 1892, Amanullah Khan was born into the royal Baratsai dynasty at Pagman, near Kabul, Afghanistan, the son of Emir Habibullah Khan and Queen Sarwar Sultana. Raised in a court that teetered between the traditional conservatism of Afghan tribal customs and the increasing exposure to modern influences via British India and Central Asia, Amanullah developed early on a strong sense of national identity and a profound ambition for change. He received a modern education, rare among Afghan princes at the time, and was deeply influenced by reformist ideas circulating in the Islamic and colonial worlds. As a young man, he became known for his intellect, discipline, and progressive thinking, often clashing with the entrenched conservative clerics and tribal elders who preferred the status quo. His marriage to Soraya Tarzi, the daughter of the prominent reformer Mahmud Tarzi, symbolized his embrace of modernism and broke traditions, as she became not only his queen but also a public and political partner. When his father was assassinated in 1919, Amanullah acted swiftly and strategically. He declared himself emir in the capital Kabul, outmaneuvering rivals, including his uncle Nasrullah Khan, whom he accused of plotting the murder. Shortly after ascending the throne, Amanullah made one of his boldest moves. He declared Afghanistan's full independence from British control in foreign affairs, triggering the short but symbolic Third Anglo-Afghan War. Although militarily inconclusive, the conflict forced Britain to recognize Afghanistan's sovereignty in the Treaty of Rawalpindi, making Amanullah a national hero. Now fully in control, he set out on a sweeping mission to modernize Afghanistan. Inspired by the reforms of Mustafa Kemal Ataturk in Turkey and the liberal ideas of the West, Amanullah launched an ambitious program of reform aimed at transforming Afghanistan from a feudal society into a centralized, secular, and modern nation-state. He changed his title from emir to king in 1926, to reflect his modern monarchical vision. He restructured the military, established new schools for boys and girls, promoted education for women, and sent Afghan students abroad to study science, medicine, and engineering. He reformed the legal code, introduced secular courts, reduced the power of religious leaders, and attempted to enforce Western-style dress codes and women's emancipation. Soraya Tarzi, unveiled and dressed in Western attire, became a symbol of these reforms, speaking publicly and appearing with her husband at official events, an unprecedented break with tradition. Amanullah also introduced Afghanistan's first constitution in 1923, establishing civil rights and attempting to unify the country under a central authority that respected ethnic diversity yet promoted Afghan nationalism. These changes, however, met with fierce resistance, particularly from tribal leaders and conservative clerics who viewed the reforms as an attack on Islamic traditions and local autonomy. Despite the resistance, Amanullah remained steadfast, believing his nation could not progress without drastic change. In 1927, he embarked on an extensive tour of Europe and the Middle East, meeting with world leaders including King George V of Britain, Pope Pius XI, and Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. He was received with honor and admiration, and he was particularly impressed by Turkey's rapid modernization. But while he was abroad, discontent simmered back home. Upon his return in 1928, he attempted to accelerate reforms, further angering traditionalist factions. The final spark came when a tribal uprising broke out in eastern Afghanistan, led by Habibullah Kalakani, a Tajik bandit-turned-rebel who capitalized on rural resentment toward modernization. Despite his efforts to crush the rebellion, Amanullah's forces proved unreliable, and his authority collapsed. In January 1929, facing a growing rebellion and unable to trust his army, Amanullah abdicated in favor of his brother Inayatullah Khan and fled Kabul. Within days, Kalakani seized the capital and declared himself king. Amanullah attempted to regroup and reclaim power from Kandahar, but lacking enough support, he ultimately fled into exile in British India and then Italy. He spent the rest of his life in exile in Rome, where he continued to write, reflect, and advocate for Afghan modernization from afar. Though exiled, Amanullah remained a respected figure among progressives and was seen as a tragic visionary who had tried to bring his country into the modern world but had moved too fast for a deeply traditional society. He never gave up hope of returning to Afghanistan, though successive governments blocked his attempts to reclaim the throne. He died in 1960 in Zurich, Switzerland, and was later buried in Jalalabad, Afghanistan, where his tomb still stands as a quiet testament to a ruler who dared to dream of a different future. Amanullah Khan's legacy is complex. He is revered by many as the father of Afghan independence and modernization, and remembered as a leader who genuinely sought to uplift his people, educate the nation, and connect it to the global community. Yet his downfall also stands as a lesson in the perils of rapid reform in a deeply traditional society. He pushed the boundaries of possibility but paid the price for underestimating the cultural and religious fabric of Afghan life. Even so, his ideas lived on, influencing later reformers and remaining a symbol of Afghanistan's struggle to reconcile its past with its hopes for a modern future. His reign, though brief, reshaped Afghanistan's national consciousness and carved his name into the annals of history as a bold, visionary monarch caught between tradition and transformation.